Donald, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Jay. How are
Hey,
you?
good.
Nice to meet you over here.
Nice to meet you. How you been?
Good, good, good. I was. You can hear me well. I'm using my Yeti microphone.
Yeah, you sound great. How about myself? Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, yours is perfect. Yeah. So, let's see. Hold on, just a green. Okay. All right. Good. I'm good.
All right, great. Well, welcome. This is for Jersey Jazz Magazine and
Okay.
also the Jazz Real Book podcast that I run, which will be heard throughout the world, which
Oh,
should be good.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you, and congratulations to you. I want to start, if I could,
Yeah.
let's start with the Christmas album. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah. All is merry and bright.
All is merry and bright.
Have you
Yeah,
listened to it?
of course. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, I really. So, what made you decide? I mean, it's not uncommon for jazz musicians to put together a Christmas album, but what made you decide that now was the right time for you to do it?
Oh yeah. Well, I think like I listen to I mean all my heroes like Ahmad Jamal, Oscar Peterson, all the cats that I admire, they've done Christmas album, and I've been approached by different labels, to do a Christmas album, but I've always been like, oh man, there's nothing I can do on those Christmas album. It's like and I didn't think I was gonna um, the melodies are very simple,
Sure.
and I guess at that time I've always thought of it like, all right, well, I don't think I can add anything to it. But then later on, I worked with Jim Anderson, who's an engineer, and he suggested. And then at that time, I was ready. I felt like, okay, I can put together some nice songs and come up with something that has a little bit of me in them.
Mhm.
So and in fact, he Jim Anderson, uh, he brought the title, all is merry and bright, and I was like, oh man, that sounds great, sounds beautiful. So yeah, and then I decided to um, bring two of my friends and record with me.
Sure.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a different. I hear your voice in it for sure, and like how much time did you spend working out the arrangements? This.
it's funny because no, I mean the thing is, it was um, yeah, it was kind of like a last minute, like
Hmm.
and I talked to I call so I have Piva Nostrand on drums and Clovis Nicolas on bass, and then we went to school, to the Juilliard school,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh man, I have this opportunity with this engineer that I really love. I love his work and everything, and so I just called him up and said, hey, are you open to do a recording? And then we got together one time to really kind of figure out, what I wanted to say, which tunes and stuff like that. And but mainly, yeah, it was kind of like last minute kind of thing. I didn't have much time. I probably had like maybe when I knew about it, I started thinking about it, and kind of, I guess in my head, kind of put together, okay, which tunes? There's so many tunes, but in terms of writing the arrangement, it was like maybe 2 days before the performance, like that kind of thing. And then even when I went in, kind of suggested a few things that we did, and you know.
Right.
Um,
Well, it came out great, and
Oh, thank you.
I would definitely encourage people to check it out.
Yeah, oh, beautiful. Yeah, I'm glad you like it, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny, but the Christmas album stuff, there's only a handful. You mentioned two of them that really connect with me. Obviously, the Vince Guaraldi stuff, and then my hero is Ray Brown, so his Christmas record is another one that's. But
Yeah, yeah.
yours is right there, and it's really cool to hear your individual voice, playing those songs.
Thank you. Yeah, and I hope this holiday album kind of brings joy, you know.
Yeah, well, all merry and bright.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other record I want to talk about was your most recent original record, As I Travel. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and that one, it seems to me like arrangement. The arrangements must have been pretty. You really must have spent some time on the arrangements.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I spent, I think, also writing the tunes
Yep.
because I had sketches on everything, and I kept on. I mean, you're a composer too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know when you write something and you're like, okay, I'm not, I don't think that's gonna, and then you
Right.
kind of put a pause, and then you come back, and then, oh, all right, I think I want to erase that and put something else. This was kind of like that. I really put a lot of thought to it because it meant a lot to me. In fact, the day before the recording, I've been pulling all-nighters because I think I was working with Ron,
Mhm.
Mr. Carter, and I was so busy, but I was putting all nighters just to make sure these things were, were where I wanted to, what I wanted to say, and even to the last, the day before, just writing. Okay, should I write the bass lines? Should I, So I, in my mind was like, okay, you know what? The more specific,
Mhm.
the better, and then I can let the bassist or the drummers do whatever they want to do, and that's what I did, and but you're right, like I put a lot of thought onto it, and in fact I recorded a song that I recorded before Tomorrow's too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that Tomorrow's I recorded, I put lyrics to it, and I still felt like, okay, I have to record it. Back in my mind, I said I have to record it again because I'm hearing,
Yeah. Yeah.
something different.
Well, such is the case, right? With so, I mean, yeah. Um, but I want you mentioned bass, like writing bass lines, because as a bass player, I'm obviously like in tune, and it seemed to me like I wanted to ask you because do you often start with a montuno or a bass structure when you're starting the writing process? Because it's very definitive bass lines, which are very well connected to the songs.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I when for how do I put it this way? Sometimes when I write everything I'm hearing, like and bass, a lot of bass because it goes with the groove. The groove. I always tell the people that are working with me, you can do your own thing, but this is what I'm hearing, and it kind of helped them to have a point of reference. And but yeah, you're right. I love just getting a groove, and I usually come up with that first, like with a groove and stuff. Well, sometimes the melody, sometimes I write the whole song, that from the beginning to end, and then sometimes it's just fragment.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah,
These pieces must have. I mean, there was a lot of prearrangement for sure, because I mean, you have those very tight hits in the tunes at times, and
yeah,
time fill changes, which are really. I mean, it doesn't hurt that you have John Patitucci, Lewis Nash, and you know, the,
unbelievable, man. My dream team.
how did you had you worked with them prior to recording this album as well?
I work with Louis Nash. He's done all of my recordings. He's a very dear friend of mine. And but John Patitucci, that was my first time working with him. And yeah, I called him up. I said, hey, I wanted, I'm, uh, you're one of my heroes. I want to record with you. Are you available to do this? And luckily he was available because he's really busy. Yeah,
Yes.
and yeah, but that was that. Yeah. So, but I heard, I because I've heard so many recordings with him.
You sure?
You can hear yeah, a lot of the arrangement kind of, some of the arrangement. I thought, oh man, he can do this. You know.
And I'm a little less familiar with the percussionist on the record, but is
Oh
that
yeah,
also?
yeah. So the Luisito Quintero.
Hmm.
He's from Venezuela, and yeah, we worked together before with Benny Wallace, a
Sure.
saxophone player. I just did a recording with him right now, 3 day, 3 days recording with Peter Washington, Herlin Riley, Anthony Wilson,
Oh yeah.
and Benny Wallace. Yeah, so it's gonna be a nice record. And but Benny Wallace, I've been working with him since I was like in my 20s, and in one of the performances he had Luisito Quintero, and I mean later on I find out that he actually when we did that performance, um, I was like, oh man, I like his playing, and then later on I find out that he used to play with Chick Corea.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's cool.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
it was nice.
Excellent. Now, is that for Grammy consideration? Was that particular record? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, as I travel right now, it's been nominated, and yeah, I guess they will announce the winner on February 2nd
Okay.
of 2025. Yeah, I'm really excited, and it's I tell my students like we do this because we love it.
Sure.
We love this, and when we get recognized, it's just a little plus. It's an encouragement because like all the tunes that I wrote there, they're all originals.
Yeah.
Really put a lot of thought to it, and it's not under any label, like no other labels, but you know um, it was like really small, you know
Yeah.
label, so that is not known, and so it's really fulfilling to be, and then to
Great.
be among the people, my heroes, like Chucho Valdez, Gonzalo, Elian
Sure.
Elias.
That's great. Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you, thank you.
Rooting for you. So if I could,
Yeah.
there's a couple. Well, if I'm actually very, you have a very, it seems like you had a very interesting path uh, early on. If you could talk about maybe your upbringing a little bit and how you came to jazz just in general.
Yeah, well, I come from a musical family.
Okay.
So I was born in Masaya, Nicaragua, and my grandfather, he was the musician in the family. So he played all the instruments basically, and he taught all his kids, and including my mother. And
Right.
my mother played, I think, 5 instruments: violin, piano, accordion, guitar. She played, and but she kind of dedicated to just as a hobby, you know.
Yeah.
And but I grew up in that environment, just listening to music and everything. And I started. They tell me that I started when I was 3 years old, and
Okay.
I did percussion. I started on percussion.
Sure.
So as you can tell, probably I'm like very rhythmic, kind of. You can hear it. Yeah, but yeah, like and I play by ear. I play piano by ear, and then my grandfather started teaching me like around to read music like around maybe 5, 6, 7, something like that, and I had to catch up, you know,
Mm.
the reading because I could hear him play the
Yeah.
song and be like, okay, can you play, Grandpa?
And then
Like,
you
you had to play it back. Um, but yeah, so I, grew up in a musical background, and I studied classical music. So I went to a conservatory in back then in Nicaragua,
right.
and then due to the political climate at that time, They were sending, like once you hit 15, I mean, yeah, 15, 16, you had to serve the military.
Yeah.
And so that was, yeah, so to give you an idea of what it was like is, like the government at that time would stop buses and said, okay, if you're a man, you get out of the bus, and if you're 15 and older, you come with us. So they would go in and you would never see them,
Hmm.
right? And then I remember in my neighborhood, I used to go to funerals, a lot of funerals. I was just like young, and moms wailing, crying, and I was like, I did not completely understand, but one thing that kind of made an impact was that the moms, they didn't even, um, they were not even, uh, see their bodies,
Wow.
like they were mourning the boots, their helmet, you know,
Yeah. Hmm.
because they were so mutilated, and sorry to be graphic, but that's kind
No,
of,
no, I'm very interested in it. Yeah.
that, yeah, yeah. So that kind of made a big impact, in my life. But but anyway, so I had to get out, and my my mother came to the U.S. first,
Hmm.
and then I immigrated and crossed the border to um, Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah. So and yeah, and in Los Angeles, but 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 when I was in Nicaragua studying my piano and everything, I remember hearing Mongo Santa Maria, and there was a piano player in there that sounded a little different. And now I
Hmm.
remember why. It was the harmonies were different,
Sure.
and I later find out that that was Chick Corea.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I guess that's the jazz that I heard. But and also I had an uncle that saw Duke Ellington when Duke Ellington passed by Nicaragua or did a concert in Nicaragua. Yeah, so and he used to listen to the music. But at that time, I think it was uh, we were not allowed to listen to jazz.
In the
Uh,
country.
yeah, like it was a little strange, um, but then so that was my background getting out of Nicaragua. But it was until I came to the U.S. that I started listening to Bud Powell, Charlie Parker, Art Tatum,
Hmm.
all the guys.
Right.
I
And
mean,
who
that's just to cut it short. It's like,
no, no, it's really interesting. I mean, because it's a unique upbringing, certainly, for a jazz musician, and particularly. But like, so in terms of just the music of Nicaragua, because I teach a class in global popular music.
hmm.
So I'm constantly trying to learn about music from different cultures, and
Oh, beautiful.
yeah, and the music from of Nicaragua, never we really haven't gotten to that specifically. I kind of, like many people, probably just place it under the moniker of a Latin jazz or Latin. What specifically should people know about the music of your heritage?
Yeah, I mean, it's very festive. It comes out of there is one particular style called Palo de Mayo,
Okay.
which is like it comes from the when there is a place. Well, so in Nicaragua you have a mix of Indian and African and Spaniards, so that whole Garifuna kind of and African, we have that connection as well. And Palo de Mayo is like actually the opening of As I Travel
Yes.
is
Hmm.
kind of like it's similar to that kind of
Okay.
Palo de Mayo kind of thing. uh, there's a lot of kind of like 6/8 stuff, and then the marimba.
Yeah,
Marimba is a very popular instrument, you know, in Nicaragua. In fact, they had a celebration on December 7th, and then I did a video of one of the songs, Son de Pascua, that kind of had that uh, kind of vibe,
but
kind of it 3/4 6/8 kind of
sure.
thing, yeah. But it's something that I would like to kind of discover more myself, you know. The country is so poor, you know, that it's probably like number two after Haiti, and
Mhm.
but I don't know, maybe Venezuela might be in
Yeah,
there too, but it's, you know, so if you're a musician over there, like it's a luxury, you know. So, but that's one of my homework to really go in and really like learn more about my culture and you know and just go there and talk to the people
right.
and get the history. But it's a melting pot. It's a melting pot.
Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, and I would assume, well, maybe not, but in terms of the music, obviously very rhythmic, harmonically more simplistic than
Very
yeah,
simplistic. Yeah. Yeah.
which is pretty consistent, I think, with a lot of Latin forms, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Until somebody like
1 5 1 4 5 1. Yeah.
it's really cool. But yeah, great. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah, and let me just ask you about a couple other people who seem to have had a big impact. I had Ron Carter on the show when he was doing his birthday concert.
Oh,
Uh,
beautiful.
yeah, and which was great because obviously, personal hero. Uh,
Yeah. Mine too.
yeah. And he was very kind. But could you tell me about like your connection with Ron and how you came to know him?
Oh boy, yeah. Um, let's see. Well, I heard him play the first time I heard him play. I heard him play in Los Angeles at the Jazz Bakery. There's a
Yeah,
place over there called the Jazz Bakery, and he came actually with the trio with Mulgrew and Russell Malone.
yeah,
And I went to see him, but at that time I was working with another great bassist, Alfred McKibben. Al McKibben, are you familiar with him?
sure, sure,
Yeah, he
yeah.
was my mentor. I was working with him in my my 20s, really young.
Oh,
Um, and um, and he was um, not doing well at that time with his health, and I told him that I was gonna go see Ron Carter, and he's like, okay, please say hello to Ron. Now, Al McKibben is and was Ron's uh, hero. That so
yeah.
much respect and everything. So when I went to see him, I said, Mr. Carter, Al McKibben sends his love. He's not doing the best, but and he Ron just gave me a big hug and said, "Please give him that message."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was just a kid.
Right, right, sure.
And then that was my kind of like my first time meeting him.
Hmm.
And then years, later, I moved to New York. I did my master's at Manhattan School of Music, and then I did my studies at the Juilliard School.
Sure.
And then so at that time I didn't know, but Mulgrew Miller wanted to focus more on his leadership, on his trio, and so that would mean that Ron, Mr. Carter was looking for a piano player. I didn't know he was doing that,
Hmm.
but um, and um, and there was a student of his, at that time. His name is Jason Stewart. Have you heard of him? Jason
Yeah.
Stewart? Yeah,
Mhm.
bass player from New Orleans. Good friend of mine. We went to Juilliard as well, and um, he actually we did his recording in New Orleans, so I was on that record. And Jason had a lesson with Ron, and he said, "Oh, I want you to hear this recording and give me some feedback." And then apparently uh, he heard the recording and asked about the pianist. Who's the piano player? Okay. And Jason calls me and says, "Man, Ron Carter wants to meet you." And I was like, "Man, don't play with me like that, brother." No, he just wants to meet you, and he wants you to go to the Blue Note, and so I went to the Blue Note, and that's how we met. And I remember him asking me about Mr. Vega, do you have a card? And I gave him my card, and then later on he called me and to be a member of his trio, the Golden Striker trio, and I was happy to say the least. But looking back, um, well, I already knew a lot of people that he knew.
Sure.
So like Louis Nash, he worked with him a lot, and also Kenny Barron was my teacher, and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So looking back, I'm like, oh man, I know that he probably talked to you know everybody, but from my story was like he just heard that recording and wanted to meet the piano player, and um, probably Jason said, "Oh yeah, that's Donald Vega," and then probably Kenny Barron have talked to me about me, or uh, Louis Nash, and so
Sure.
yeah.
So did you like so the first time you wound up playing with him was it with the intent that you were going to join his group, or did he audition you, or he just felt comfortable with your recording and your
Wow,
reputation?
yeah, this was incredible. This story is like amazing. Like, so basically, Ron is always busy, and especially at that time, he's always traveling, and he called me, and he said, "Hey, Mr. Vega, when are you playing in town?" And I never have gigs like it's very like at that time I probably have one gig a month or something like that or something like that, like I was a student still, and but but when he called me, I had three gigs on that week, and he just happened to be in town,
Uh,
and I was playing with like Christian McBride. I was doing a Roy Haynes tribute with Christian McBride, Louis Nash, and Gregory Porter.
sure.
And then I was doing a trio with David Grossman,
Mhm.
and I was doing a big band.
Okay.
That came out on that week that he was available. Now I've worked with him for like 15 years, and I know how busy he is, and he just happened to be open that week. So he came to the performance we did with Christian McBride and Louis Nash and Gregory Porter at Riverside Church. We were honoring Roy Haynes at that time.
Oh yeah.
And he came, and that was my audition, and that's why later on he just called me and said, "Mr. Vega, meet me at my place." I went over there, and then when he hired me, he didn't say you're gonna be the piano player of my band. He just said, "Okay, let's try it out."
Oh, and
Yeah,
just
yeah, and I remember when I played my first gig that I played with him was at the Regatta Bar in Boston,
oh sure, yeah. I
and I
remember.
was man, I was so nervous, you
Mhm.
know, um, to the point where I wasn't myself, and I remember him telling me, um, Mr. Vega, I know you can do better than that. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be myself. And then after that, then he said, okay, that's gonna work.
Would he call you Mr. Vega even like
Oh
as a
yeah,
kid?
yeah. He's really like very proper. Like, not now that I know him, it's a different. He's like my father. My musical father, a father figure. Yeah, and he's amazing. I can call him anytime. I can get advice, and it's incredible. But he's always had that. He's really proper, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I got that sense from just a little time I got to spend with him, doing this. You know, and he seems very he is somewhat formal, like you said, but very sure a guy who deservingly so is very confident
Oh yeah.
in in his words as much as his music.
Absolutely, yeah. He's gone
Yeah.
through a lot, and that's why I was so nervous, man, because like you think about all the piano players he played with, and what am I doing in there, man? I mean, it's incredible,
Yeah.
and what he has learned from everybody,
Mhm.
because when you play with him, you get, so in a way, I'm taking all that lesson of what he learned from Miles, what he learned with Tommy Flanagan, with Wes Montgomery, with eh,
Yeah.
and not to mention the good stories that I get a chance to, learn from, from him, telling the stories and stuff.
Great. So what is going on with the group now? Sadly Russell Malone has passed. Is there still to, to
I,
do?
I did not know, but we have a new trio um, that we're going to be performing on his birthday, um, and he's with Donald Harrison,
Oh,
and
sure.
yeah, and then Mr. Carter and myself, and yeah, we don't know, but definitely, how can you replace Russell? You know,
Yeah.
yeah, but for right now, I think um, he has a quartet that he works with. He has different configuration. I'm doing. I'm gonna be performing at the Nash um, with Louis Nash and him.
Okay.
A nice trio, and then I got another call to play with Billy Hart as well, and myself and Mr. Carter. So I don't, doing different things.
Sure.
Yeah, but in terms of what we had before, I think I do not know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a crazy tough one. So there's just a couple other names that when I'm looking through your bio that seem to have had a big impact, and I was wondering if you could just talk about one or two of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, like Billy Higgins was a guy who had a big impact on your.
yeah,
You talk about how he helped you.
yeah. Absolutely. He did not kind of give me a lesson or anything like that, but his aura, his presence, his playing with him, is a lesson. So I met him in Los Angeles. There is a place um, that he helped raise at the world stage
Hmm.
in Los Angeles. A lot of you might know like people like Black Note, the
Yeah.
group Black Note, and So he had three drummers that he was working with, and one of them was Willie Jones,
Okay.
and the baby in there was Coran Harrison,
Mhm.
and I wasn't. We were the youngest, so I was in the on the band with him,
Okay.
and he was encouraging us as a group to play this music, and he came and supported us, listened to us, but eventually I got a chance to meet him and play with him. I mean, really spend some time with him. But
Yeah.
see, at that time, um, I didn't know who Billy Higgins was. Like he's, I just thought he was a beautiful uncle, Uncle Billy. And he was so supportive, and his aura, it was so. He had this spirituality about him, and he was this joy when he played, and his personality came. I saw him as a priest,
Oh wow,
physical
that's interesting.
priest, like yeah, like amazing. And yeah, and I was so naive that I remember playing with him, and and then later on I would play with different drummers, and I
Yep.
was like, man, what why is it so different? Like I was so
Not really thinking.
yeah, I was like, wow, Then later on I put it together, like okay, he had another thing in there
Yeah.
that made him special.
Yeah, and another name who came up, which actually part of this, he's my next person I'm trying to interview once again is John Clayton. Uh,
Oh yeah, my mentor.
yeah, and John was I just finished up a book on Ray Brown, bassist Ray Brown,
Mm.
and John was very. But this, so I talked to him. Going, this is a long process, 20 years ago, and I really want to make him aware that it's coming out. But I've been trying to connect with him. It's been a little difficult. But talk about if you could, John Clayton and how he helped mentor you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, he was teaching at the University of Southern California
Yes.
in Los Angeles. Yeah, and I think, he was the head of the program,
Mhm.
um, or the jazz studies. And I went to USC.
Yes.
I went to USC, and yeah, and I was I was in his classes. I studied with him, and his family to me. And I used to go to his house, and in fact, his son, um, uh, uh, I was working with him as well. He asked me to encourage him, and yeah, so that was really, Gerald
Okay.
Clinton, and but I used to. I think I was probably one of the original um, pianist of the Clayton Hamilton with Jeff Clayton.
Sure.
Yeah, and I used to perform with him a lot in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And yeah, I miss him. I miss him a lot, man. Jeff Clayton. Did you ever meet him?
Never.
Never? Oh man,
Jeff.
yeah, he's
Jeff. No. Mm-mm.
incredible, man.
I had met.
And great, great person. Yeah. Yeah, so his family, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot from him. I remember, just to give you an idea, I we did I think I was doing it. I think it was a tribute to Benny Carter,
Sure.
and I came in, and I think I got an award, the Young Talent Award, and I got a chance to play with him and Jeff Hamilton,
Mhm.
and he brought a new tune. And it was like a bossa nova that
Sure.
he had written, and or yeah, I think it was a bossa nova, and we played the tune, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and then when it was time to perform, he just took my music away, his original tune, and I was like, all right, let's go. I mean, so this is how much he believes he believes in me and believed in me then, you know um and I'm forever grateful for his mentorship and advice, and so
Great. I mean, it seems like well, certainly bass players. It seems like you've connected with
I
most of
know, I didn't, yeah,
any of
Benny
you.
Golson was another one that really I learned a lot from as well.
Oh yeah, how'd you connect with Benny Golson?
Well, he came to do at Juilliard. He came to do a master class,
Hmm.
and he heard me play, connected with him, and then later on, I got a chance to play with him. In fact, he asked me to do the jazz cruise,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
I performed with him. I guess Mike Ladan was not able to make it, and he called me. And Carl Allen, I was working with Carl as well, and he recommended me as well. And then also when Ron had a birthday, I
Yeah.
hung out with him the whole week. I
Okay.
carried his horn and got all of his stories, and but he, from time to time, we will talk, and I will get advice from him, and he will write me all these incredible letters that kind of will send me to the dictionary because those words were like unbelievable. Um, and but yeah, he was, and Russell and I, we used to talk so much about all the things that we would learn like from him and
Sure.
stuff. Just the way he behaved and his life.
Yeah. I mean, isn't one of the great joys of doing this like being able to connect with some of those legends and get just the stories I mean, it really is,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know, so rewarding in some ways just to be around.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And then I'm sure you're giving your stories to the younger
Oh,
students.
absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, if we could just kind of go through that really quick. The Juilliard School,
Yeah.
uh, you're a professor there now, right?
Yes.
So how did that come to be?
Well, I went there. I'm an alumni, so I
Yeah,
graduated from there. And I used to sub for um, Frank Kimbrough for his
yeah,
classes,
okay.
and also Kenny Barron would have me sub for him, and it was kind of like a natural kind of transition
Mhm.
because once you start subbing, and then um, Mr. Barron will get busy, then I would come and sub, and same with Frank, and they kind of trusted me, that I could do this, and naturally it led to being there and having more classes and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Are you a full-time professor there?
Um, it feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
cool.
teach I teach there 2 days a week.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm
Uh,
I'm having a blast, man. I
uh,
love the students, and I'm very lucky and blessed to be able to share and spend time with them. Um, and because my parents, they taught me to give back, and
sure,
I enjoy that. So I always tell them whatever they need, I'm here.
great, very cool. So in terms of future plans, you did mention a couple projects you're working on. Any other projects you want to mention that are upcoming or performances?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would love for um, number one, to say that your audience, they can visit my website, www.donaldvega.com, and that they can sign up for my newsletter. That would be great. I'm gonna be at Berlin this week,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm gonna be doing that for 3 nights. I'm gonna be performing with David de Jesus Quartet, and then out in January, I'm gonna be at DC's Club Coca-Cola doing a tribute to a concert in memory of Russell Malone,
Hmm.
and then of course I'm gonna go to the Grammys on February 2nd,
Yeah.
and then work with Mr. Carter and Nash at his place, his concert hall, in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Nash, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
I wasn't familiar, but yeah.
yeah. And but yeah, I'm writing, I'm composing, and I'm blessed to have gotten the Chamber Music of America this year. And so I'm working on doing the project that had to do with legacy.
Hmm.
So really coming up with all the things that we talked about. All the people that have helped me, and because we don't come just like that. I mean, we need help. We need those mentors. You know, and Francisco Babella, Al McKibben, Billy Higgins, Benny Golson. They play very important role, and I'm gonna put that into music. So that's like probably the next the next project for me.
Excellent, great. And yeah, so everyone can check out the albums that are out. All is Merry and Bright, the great Christmas record, and As I Travel. And I think I've kept you long enough. Is there anything else you want anyone to know?
No, man, thank you, Jay, for having
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean like I hope everybody gets something out of the interview and then to please connect. You can get my album in all the Bandcamp is probably the best. And but um, and also I'm on Instagram if you want to connect, on Facebook you want to connect, and yeah. So, but thank you for the interview.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. And I really do appreciate your music very much. And hopefully we'll I'm only here in New Jersey. I'm not that far from you. So
Oh, great! So I might see you, huh?
yeah, I would like to come check you out and maybe someday we'll play together.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
I don't know. All
Yeah.
right, man. Have a great rest of the day.
All right, you too. Have a good one. Take care.